So here's my thing, okay? If you and I are friends, like you and I are close, we haven't seen each other in months, like we've only kind of been texting, we've only kind of been, replying to each other's social media posts, but we haven't really sat down and had a real face-to-face conversation. And we finally decide to get together and we're gonna have lunch or we're gonna have brunch or we're just gonna, catch up with each other face-to-face. My thing is, don't invite a third party to come along without first asking me if that's cool, or at least telling me ahead of time that that individual is coming. Because the fact that there's a third party now being invited to join us at brunch means that I have to water down my conversation. You know what I mean? Because I'm just not going to talk about my real business openly with somebody at the table who I barely even consider an associate. So now you have changed the entire dynamic of our face-to-face, because now I have to water everything down and everything has to be real light. So 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine who I haven't seen in a very long time invited me to come to brunch downtown. Of course I obliged because we haven't talked in a significantly long time. And so I'm excited, and I leave the gym and I go downtown and I arrive, only to my surprise to see, as I'm being escorted to the table, that there's a third party there. Someone who I knew 7 years ago, someone who I don't talk to anymore, someone who I don't particularly care for, but I'm no longer kind of harboring the feelings and resentment that existed before. But me and this third person just we don't interact or engage, and it's very intentional. So I'm walking to the table, and you know how you give your friend that, like, you little bitch, that look. So I got it together because, I said, you know what, Zim, don't be nasty. Like, you're here now, enjoy the brunch. And we're sitting down and we're all three kind of just like, smiling. I embraced my friend, gave him a hug. I shook the other dude's hand like, yeah, good to see you again. Just kind of keeping everything real light. So we're sitting, we're having brunch rather. We're talking, and the third party decides, he's like, oh, Zim, just out of the blue, very inappropriate, you're crossing boundaries. So who are you dating now? And even though it wasn't his business or even his place to even ask me a question like that, I kept it real light. And I said, I'm not really, dating anybody right now. I'm just kind of like doing me. So I guess that answer wasn't good enough for him. So he tries to stroke my ego. And now he's like, oh, come on, Zim. Like, everybody wants you, Zim. You got to be dating somebody, Zim. So I know what you're doing. I get it. But I'm not going there with you, because you and I are not on those terms. So I kind of repeated myself. I'm like, I meet people, I talk to people, but I'm not really dating anyone right now. And so then I turned it back to him. I was like, so, who are you dating, or what's going on with you? So he let me know that he had just bought a house, that he was in school. And I was like, man, that's a blessing. Which I really meant that genuinely. I said, that is a blessing, because I know before things weren't always on the up and up for him. Things weren't always good. So I was like, that is really good to hear. I was like, God is good. And at that moment in time, like, my friend chimed in. He's like, yeah, he's doing this, such and such, such and such. And I was genuinely, seriously happy to hear it. And I said that. So my friend gets up to go to the bathroom. And when my friend gets up to go to the bathroom, this third party pulls out his phone. And he's like, we should take a picture together for Instagram. Now, honestly, I had just come from the gym. Because, of course, when I'm with friends, when you're in a company of friends, well, at least for me, I don't feel the need to get dressed up, to get done up, you know what I mean, to be in their company and to share space with them. So I just came as is. So I would not have even taken a picture of myself for my own Instagram. So I said to him, very honestly, very politely, I was like, well, I really don't want to take any pictures today. And he's like, come on, I haven't seen you in so long. And I was like, no, I'm not really into it. And I was like, well, why don't you take a picture with our friend? Of course, right? Because the reality is, when you really just want to take a picture for memory's sake, or you're just happy and excited to see somebody, like, he would have done it as a group shot with all of us at the table, instead of trying to get a picture with just he and I? What reason are you really trying to take a picture of you and I for Instagram to prove or show to people that what, we know each other or that we're on good terms? Like, when you're with your friends and you know somebody in real life, you aren't fazed about taking a picture with them solely for Instagram. Do you understand what I mean? So I decline to take the pic. My friend comes back to the table. I don't make mention of it. I don't say anything. We go on about our brunch. Everything goes on as is. Brunch ends. We're all leaving. We're saying our goodbyes. I had to valet park my car because I was already running late. My friend, he hugged us both outside, went to his car. Well, lo and behold, third party also valet parked his car. So we're standing there together. And he's like, oh, Zim, it was so good seeing you. And I said the same thing. I was like, you know, it really was. I said, I'm so glad that, you know, everything is working out for you, that the year is going well. So he pulls out his phone again. And he's like, well, we should exchange numbers so we can keep in touch. And I didn't want to give him my phone number to keep in touch. So I said, well, you know what, man? I said, I don't think it's a good idea that we exchange numbers, but, you know, everything's good between us. We see each other out, like, definitely, you know, everything's cool. I was just letting him know everything was cool. I just didn't feel comfortable with us exchanging information. I didn't see where it was going to be necessary. So he's like, oh, okay, you know, I understand, da-da-da-da. We dapped up, cars came, we go on. I don't think anything else of it until today, where my friend hits me up, and he's just kind of like, so what happened between you and third party, you know, when I left? And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, he said that you were like really shady towards him. And I said, well, what do you mean shady? He's like, well, I don't know. He said he didn't go into a lot of detail. He was just like, well, he was just trying to, like, you know, exchange information with you, and you were kind of acting funny about it. And what I said to my friend is the same thing that I'm going to say to you. There's a huge difference between being shady and being socially selective, okay? Shady would have been had I exchanged information, had I given my phone number and then ignored him every time he texted me or every time third party called me, sent him straight to voicemail. That's shady. Grown man socially selective is me being able to look you dead in your eye and say, I don't think it's a good idea that we exchange information, but you and I are cool, and I am glad that things are going well for you. You know what I mean? That's being grown man. That's being socially selective. Because the reality is this. This individual caused havoc in my life 7-8 years ago. And even though he may have changed, he's changed now, other things good are going on in his life, I'm not giving somebody a ticket to walk back in to possibly, in one way or another, create that level of drama again. Do you know what I mean? Because when I lay my head down every night, when I put my head on that pillow, I know I'm not waking up to text messages and phone calls filled with a bunch of he say, she say, well, then he said, you said this, and your name was wrong. I don't live like that. You know what I mean? I have a peace of mind in my life. People who caused that type of confusion and controversy years ago don't exist in my life today. And that, to me, has been, it's a conscious effort that has worked on my behalf. You know, shady, like I said, would have been had I pretended that he and I were closer, or I felt more comfortable than I actually did feel, and took that picture with him for Instagram or exchanged information and then ignored him when he was reaching out to me. But I verbally let him know what it was. Shady was the fact that he stood there in front of my face and said, oh, Zim, you know, I understand, it's cool, but then now you're going back to third party, you're going back to our friend and saying you didn't like the way I handle situations, or you didn't like, you know, the way that I responded, but I was respectful towards you. And that's people's problems. People don't understand that there is a difference between friendship and association. And for me, there's a very clear divide. And I don't share the same level of information, the same time, the same engaging face-to-face with my associates as I do my friends. It's one thing for me to go out and see people in public and hug them and, hey, good to see you, because most of the time I really do feel that way, than it is to give you my number and give you my information when now you have direct access to me. So now when my name comes up in conversation, you can say, yeah, I know Zim. Yeah, we talk about this. Yeah, we hang out. No, we don't. We don't. You know, we had brunch once. For the first time in 7 to 8 years, I didn't know you were coming. I sat, I was polite, I was cordial, I spoke with you, I shook your hand, you know, we half hugged goodbye, but I didn't share my information with you. It doesn't make me shady. It makes me socially selective. I know the types of people I want in my life. I know the types of people who make me feel good about myself, who don't run my business into the streets. I know I can sit with friends and talk about every aspect of my life, romantically, sexually, personally, financially, and I don't have to worry about hearing it from other individuals in the community. Those are my friends. Other people, hi, how you doing? Good seeing you. We're out. You are an associate. That is the role you play. Not everyone deserves to sit front seat in your life. Most people don't even deserve to sit in the back, but somehow they make their way in. It's up to you to draw that line between letting somebody interfere with the peace that you've created and then welcoming them back with open arms as if nothing has happened. No, I don't still harbor the negative feelings or resentment, as I said, but I'm not giving you an opportunity to disturb the peace that exists in my life now. We as adults have to stop saying that people are shady just because they don't want to hang out with us, just because they don't want to, you know, take pictures with us for social media. No, I don't even take pictures half the time with my real friends for Instagram. Because when I'm out with people I know in real life, I don't have to prove it to the world that I know them. There are a lot of people I hang out with and associate with that the public doesn't know because I have nothing to prove. When you're sitting beside me and you want to take a picture after our mutual party has left the table, you have something to prove. And I'm not playing that game with you, nor am I giving you my information for you to be hitting me up, digging for information the same way you wanted to know who I was dating. It's none of your damn business. That's not shade. It's being socially selective. And if more people were socially selective, you wouldn't deal with the drama, the chaos, the confusion, the havoc, and hell that presently frame your life. And remember that. When you're in the company of associates and people you don't deal with like that, keep it light. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. I'm happy things are going well. But no, you can't have my number. No, we're not going to take pictures. No, we're not friends. But God bless you.